Hello students, welcome to another class of class 10. Here we are going to discuss about exothermic and endothermic reactions. In the earlier classes we have defined the 5 types of reaction, which are combination reaction, decomposition reaction, displacement, double displacement and oxidation reduction reaction or redox reaction. Now in this video we will define and discuss exothermic and endothermic reaction. Let us first discuss what is exothermic reaction. The reaction in which heat is produced along with the product is known as exothermic reaction. Means in this type of reaction heat is produced. A very simple example of this reaction is burning of wood or coal. When we burn wood, what happens? Heat is produced, as we can see. So the first example is burning of wood or coal. The reaction is carbon plus oxygen. Wood or coal is defined as carbon, C. Whenever we burn any substance, normally they are generally use oxygen gas. So when we burn wood, it produces carbon dioxide, and along with it heat is produced. So it is an example of exothermic reaction. Burning is an example of exothermic reaction. Let us come to another example. Mixing of acid and base. When we mix acid and base, heat is also produced in this case. So for example, we can write it as acid plus base produces salt, water and heat. Let us take an example of acid, hydrochloric acid, HCl. Example of base, let us take NaOH, and the salt will be NaCl, water H2O, heat. So these are some examples of exothermic reaction. Since in this both reaction heat is produced along with the product. Now let us come to the endothermic reaction. It is the opposite of exothermic reaction. In exothermic reaction heat is produced, but in endothermic reaction heat is required for the reaction. So we can define it as the reaction in which heat is absorbed is known as endothermic reaction. A simple example is melting of ice. Whenever we have to melt ice to water, or whenever we have to convert ice to water, what do? We apply heat and it is converted to water. So in this reaction what happens? Heat is required to produce the product. So melting of ice is an example of endothermic reaction. So write ice to water. What do? We apply heat. So in this reaction heat is required. On the other hand, in this reaction heat is produced. So melting of ice is an example of endothermic reaction. Burning is example of exothermic and melting is an example of endothermic reaction. Another example is decomposition of calcium carbonate. The formula of calcium carbonate is CaCO3. The decomposition of calcium carbonate. In this reaction, what happens? Calcium carbonate is decomposed when we apply heat, and it produces calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. So in case of endothermic reaction, heat is required. If we don't apply heat, the reaction will not produce. Okay, no reaction will happen. And in this case, we don't have to use heat. Heat is produced, and here we have to